Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are opera singer Carla Jamie Perez and author-comedian Katy Franco. Carla Jamie Perez was born and raised in Ohio and has been singing her whole life. You started singing at the age of 4. Let's start there and tell us about that.
Well, it was a total fluke. The part had already been cast, and the little girl who was supposed to do it became very ill. Oh. And so I guess you could call it my big break. It was a very short song.
Was it? Was it really? What was it? Tell us what it was.
It was Dites-moi in South Pacific. And I had a great time.
But how did you know about it? How did they know to call you?
I really, at 4, I don't really know all the details of it, except that, my mother knew somebody who knew somebody.
That's what I wondered.
And there was a call, and she had heard me sing it in a little review. And said, they're desperate to find someone, and
you knew the words.
And the rest is history.
Really? And then you started training at 10 years old.
I did, because
Because why?
Well, because I sang. My mother says I sang prenatally.
Did she put the radio on your stomach?
I don't know what she did, but I mean, I just. My father says I just screamed until they finally let me out.
Were they singers?
Well, my father's family was very musical. My great aunt was an understudy to Grace Moore, and
so they were in.
My father had gone to the Metropolitan Opera every Saturday of his life.
That's why you knew how to sing.
And I was just. I was a gramophile from the earliest ages. I memorized all of the musicals and.
So who did you train with then at age 10?
I started with Elizabeth Krieger, who was just an incredible. She was a wonderful contralto, very well known, and it was just a match made in heaven because she was my mentor,
That was so lucky, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then by the time you were 16, you were singing in The Marriage of Figaro.
I was. I got a part. I did the part of Carabino.
Was it because of her training, do you think?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. She was a very, very good technician. She knew how to develop the voice. And I like to think that that's why I'm a good teacher today.
And you teach. That's what I was going to say. You teach. So do you use those techniques that she used on you?
I do. And I've been very, very fortunate in that I've had some of the master teachers of the world,
Well, let's talk about them. First, after you finished high school, you got a full scholarship, not to one, but to 2 colleges, to Indiana and Cincinnati.
Right.
But you chose not to take those. Why?
Well, because I had grown up in the Midwest, and I really, and my father had kind of put the spirit of the East Coast in me, and I was accepted at Peabody Conservatory, and I was also accepted at New England.
I see.
And I just, I researched things, and I knew that Frank Valentino, who I thought was an incredible actor, and I really, had more been available to me at the time. I really think, matter of fact, I was just talking to Michelle Mace about this, who was the production designer for one of our productions.
For let's say what it is.
Winter's Thaw.
Performances a la carte.
Exactly, Performances a la carte produced Winter's Thaw, and she was the imagery production designer for that. So, and in talking with her, I was saying, when I was growing up, nothing digital was available, or the whole world of technology wasn't available. So you kind of get on a path, and that path was singing, and my father wanted it to be opera.
But you knew, so you chose a school that would further your education and further your career.
Because there were a number of opera companies around the Baltimore area, so it wasn't just about Peabody. It was about gaining stage experience.
And then, how did you pay your tuition? You gave up these scholarships.
Well, I had a partial scholarship, and my parents got a loan, which I later paid off, nothing to the extent of which people are paying off loans now. I would never have been able to afford it. And I formed my own jazz ensemble.
That's what I thought was interesting, because to go to a jazz ensemble from studying opera?
Oh, no, I loved, let me say that I grew up in a very eclectic musical household.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think of my very first voice teachers as Ella Fitzgerald and Nancy Wilson.
Just from hearing the music?
Yes, exactly. And I mean, I knew all their songs. I mean, my parents had all those albums.
That's really interesting, because to choose the path of the opera singer and to finance your schooling with a jazz trio, it's like a real turn, isn't it?
It was. And it was exciting to me because I was actually underage.
And you were playing in all these bands.
I was. So I mean, there was a little bit of the naughty in it for me at the time, which doesn't seem naughty at all now.
No. Did you give up opera?
No, I've never given up opera. I've given up traveling. I've given up.
I wonder why.
Yeah, really. I'm not being on the road is not my favorite thing.
It's very difficult.
And I think there's a lot of glamour associated, and there is a lot of glamour associated with being an opera singer or being a performer.
Oh, I know.
But there's a lot of loneliness as well, because you're by yourself and you do this great performance, and then you go back to an empty hotel room, essentially.
And then do you practice in between?
Oh yes, and
even though you're alone like that, you have to make
absolutely.
yourself.
You have to keep everything in tip-top shape, and I think that was part of it too. Is that once you get on this path, you start being in demand, and then things start coming, and they start coming a little faster, then you can really enjoy them.
I see.
So you're kind of so busy on to the next thing.
And you're singing and going.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you're a recitalist, I said, and tell us what that is. And that's why I asked if you gave up opera to be a recitalist.
Well, no, it was kind of part and parcel. I mean, I really, I love singing not just opera, but I love singing art song. And I really developed. There were a number of teachers that inspired me, and I had master classes with people like Victoria de Los Angeles and Ellie Amling and people like that.
Wow, really?
And Janet Baker, who were masters of art song. And
tell us what that is.
Well, art song is German lieder, a French art song, American, the American classical department. Exactly.
I see.
Song cycles, the song cycles of Schubert and Schumann, and so I mean, just being able to explore, because I love nuance and I love storytelling.
And then when you do that recitalist, who accompanies you?
A pianist.
A pianist, or not an orchestra? Or
no. If you're sometimes when you're doing chamber music, you can do it with small ensembles. I've done some Copland pieces that were, just with flute and clarinet and voice, and we try to incorporate some of that into performances a la carte.
And tell us now, because Performances a la carte is a nonprofit.
Right.
So you had to start this nonprofit. Why did you start it?
Well, I mean, I was compelled, and I kept coming up with projects, and I wanted to have I had previously been executive director, and before that, director of development for Strawberry Creek Music Festival.
Oh, I see. So you had been in the festival circuit.
So, and I knew that it wasn't something I wanted to have just as a business venture. I wanted to make it a nonprofit, and because I wanted it to be about supporting the arts and supporting artists.
I was going to say, does that get out to more people? as a nonprofit? Do you have a wider range of motions, so to speak?
Well, I think you have, you definitely have the availability of grants and things to underwrite.
I see.
You know, it's probably as close as we'll ever come to state funding of the arts.
So, what were your goals then when you decided to start it? Besides wanting to incorporate this recital type of thing that you were talking about?
I didn't want it to be just the same old, same old. I mean, there are 50 zillion concert series out there. You know, there's no reason to start a nonprofit in my mind, you know, without kind of creating a new paradigm, which is what I wanted to do.
And how do you do that with 50 million out there? Like, or how do you come up with something creative?
Well, we're fledgling, so we're just starting. We're just starting out. As a matter of fact, we've taken the next 6 months from the production that we just finished in March, which was Winter's Thaw, to just really pull our business together and to budget out the next 3 projects. But what we wanted to do was really, I've always disliked the separation, if you will, and the compartmentalization of our lives. You know, like I've got my business over here and my personal life over here and my philanthropic life over here, and art is somewhere over here. And it just seemed very disjointed to me, and I just, I wanted to connect with the community. I wanted to not only make an organization that connected with local artists and provided them a venue to express.
And who were those local artists that you connect with?
Well, for example, Michelle Mace, who was our
production.
Yeah, exactly. She was our imagery designer and production designer. And we brought in 2 wonderful composers. I wrote some poems, and both of the composers are from the San Gabriel Valley.
So you're staying in that area, more or less?
More or less, San Gabriel Valley, La Crescenta Valley.
So what happens? Do you use the altar as your staging?
Well, we had everything. It was so beautiful because we did 2 huge screens on either side at the altar. All right, and this, this French Gothic interior is just, it's exquisite. And yet there are very few. When I went to church there, I had gone to church there to kind of check it out. And if there were maybe 100 people there, it was, and here is a church that holds a couple of thousand, probably.
But that's also going out into the community, isn't it? That's bringing the church people in.
It is.
Those people.
And, you know, when we walked into the church, it was almost like the church spoke to us, you know. And when we started bringing music and the visual imagery to it, and we utilized incredible musicians, Fang Chu, who had just made her Carnegie Hall debut, was our cellist. We had Chris Bleth, who is world-renowned woodwind player who plays just every woodwind possible. We had Stephen Grimm, who conducted the choir. We had a volunteer choir that was just exquisite.
Thank you, Carla.
Oh, well, thank you, Joan. This has really been a pleasure.
Thank you. And don't go away. We'll be right back with actress, author, Katy Franco. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with author, actress, stand-up comic, Katy Franco, who was born and raised in Puerto Rico, where she went to the university and honed in Puerto Rico her acting skills. She's worked in TV and on the stages of the Laugh Factory, the Improv, and the Ice House. She's a regular at the Fine Arts Center in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and she's been playing to sold-out audiences there. She continues performing at the Wyndham El San Juan Hotel. And how do you make the jump back and forth from LA to Puerto Rico?
Well, you know, it's work, and my family is there, my mother, my father, my sister, and, you know, my nephews and nieces. So I just get on a plane. It's 6 hours. It's almost like going to Europe.
It is fun.
It is.
It's 6 hours.
6 hours if you have a direct flight, but they have eliminated direct flights, so now you have to stop. So it's more like a 12-hour ordeal.
But also from stages there to stages here, from English to Spanish, do you get confused in your languages?
Well, I think I was born confused, you know. I spoke English with my mother. She's American, and Spanish with my father. He's Puerto Rican. So I grew up speaking both languages, but the interesting thing is when I moved to Los Angeles, I had never been a stand-up comedy. I had been a theater actress, a soap opera actress, done all kinds of sitcoms, miniseries. But stand-up comedy in Los Angeles is like a big thing, and it was the way to showcase, and it is the way to showcase. So I just went to Laugh Factory and I said, you know, I am a professional stand-up. And they said, really? A Latina, a blonde Latina? We need her. And I just went up there and I was like, hi, I'm Puerto Rican. And people started laughing. And I was going, why are they laughing? You know, I'm just saying that I'm Puerto Rican. For me, it's like a normal thing to be Puerto Rican. For everybody else, it's like, oh my God.
So you were talking about being an actress. So in Puerto Rico, you did study theater, and was that going to be your choice of show business to follow?
No, the choice of show business right now is the comedy. I've been doing comedy for the last 10 years.
But when you were at university, you didn't study this.
Oh, no.
At university, you studied to be...
an actress, a theater actress.
Right.
And I did plays like Extremities, Children of a Lesser God.
So you really worked at it.
Oh, yes, and I like the heavy, dramatic characters. I'm a character actress. I don't look like one, but I'm a character actress.
You change your wig?
Yes, I try to do psychological characters, or characters that suffer a lot, or that have a lot of meat as a role.
Well, once you got this Laugh Factory gig, did you start taking stand-up? Did you start taking classes for stand-up?
Never. I think never. I never studied to be a stand-up comic, but I had done a lot of comedy theater. And I had done a lot of comedy itself. So I guess I was born with a sense of humor. That's a gift that I have. And I decided to go back to Puerto Rico to do stand-up comedy in Spanish.
Oh, that's Solo para Mujeres.
Solo para Mujeres, for women only. And
so tell us about that, because that's great. And Boca Loco.
Boca Loca, Crazy Mouth, the monologues of Boca Loca.
I love both of those names. They sound much better in Spanish.
Yes. Well, Solo para Mujeres, for women only, was the first time that a Latina comic, at least in Puerto Rico, and I researched it, I think in all of the United States, was talking about sexuality and about couples, and about how women see men and how men see women from a Latina perspective. I must say, I don't use foul language. I'm not graphic. Everything is a double entendre, and everything has a double meaning. So it was very successful. And so when I came back to the States, I felt so comfortable doing stand-up comedy because I had done it in my native language first. And that's where I can switch back and forth.
So easily. And then what about Boca Loca?
Oh, Boca Loca.
What were those? Bad words?
No, Boca Loca was a character that I created so I could say things. I had permission to say anything I wanted, and it wasn't Katy Franco. You know what I mean? It was just like I had permission to, if I had to use a little bit of a word or be a little bit daring, I could do it as the character. So Boca Loca, Crazy Mouth, is a mouth that will say anything. And so she had, spiky red hair and big lips. And
Did you do that at the Fine Arts Center?
I did that at the Fine Arts Center. I was sold out 14 performances. I did it for Valentine's, and at that, so I made Boca Loca like a Cupid. She would walk into the audience, and she has a lot of lips and walk like Betty Boo, with all these lips, in her wardrobe.
Did you make your costumes too?
Yes, I hand painted them, and then I had an artist from Hollywood, here in Hollywood Boulevard, that painted a coat for me with all the mouth and the Boca Loca, and it was
fantastic.
Which I still have.
And on stage, what about the lighting and the music and all that?
I had a guest star that was a dancer and singer, because I don't know how to sing, but I always had an opening singing number and dancing number, and so he would dance with me, and I would do like a merengue or a salsa song, like about men being bad with women, and people would start laughing, and then I was an hour and a half on stage.
So you did a lot of this.
A lot. I've done a lot of it.
A lot, a
Yes.
lot. And then you got this big diagnosis.
Yes, I had one of the last things I did before I was diagnosed with breast cancer was a movie where I played an American girl. In a Puerto Rican movie, I played an American girl that spoke no Spanish.
No accent.
No accent. Perfect English, but acento hablando español, like to play like a character. So, and then 4 months later, after I finished filming that movie, boom, I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
And how did that hit you? I mean, here you were at the prime. You were like making your movies. You were on stage. I mean, were you knocked over?
I was knocked over. First of all, it was a role that I never auditioned for. To play, you know, breast cancer, and having cancer is a very shocking experience. And when it happened to me, I thought it was like a movie. Remember, I'm an actress, so I reacted a little bit at the beginning as an actress, like, oh my God, this is not possible. Oh, those results are wrong. It can't be me. It can be anybody but me.
And I hate to say that we're talking about it like this, but you've embraced it, and you've written a book, Cinderella, and this has taken part of your life. So that's why we're able to talk about it right now. Because I don't want the audience to think that I'm going, oh, you were diagnosed, because you were diagnosed, but you had a great way to deal with it.
I was diagnosed, and I was always able to talk about it because I always used my sense of humor. I always used laughter, and I always I created the magic around my life to be able to survive it. And I think a lot of those tools helped me survive breast cancer.
And it's that positive thing that you bring to it, don't you think? I think it's like so much a part of having a disease.
Exactly. I mean, you have high moments and you have low moments, but in the high moments I use my creativity. I was doing stand-up comedy at the Laugh Factory the day before my chemotherapy treatments.
Oh, you were?
Oh,
you
yes.
just continued your life like it was?
I tried to continue my life with the less impact possible, less change possible, and the laughter and doing the stand-up comedy was like food for my soul.
It was bringing
for
it.
my
So when did you decide to write a book?
Well, in the middle of my treatments of chemotherapy and radiation, now my movie that I had done where I played the gringa, the American girl, is going to have a premiere in New York at the Lincoln Center.
Oh, wow.
So the producer calls me and says, you know, Katy, we're having the premiere. I know you can't come. And I said, I can't what? I said, I'm going to go. So making a long story short, my boyfriend at the time, my husband now, went with me, and we went to the premiere. I did the red carpet, and I put on my wig and my beautiful dress, and there was a lot of important people there. You know, the president of tourism, there was celebrities, there was the governor of Puerto Rico, the first lady.
Wow, right.
And so when I went to meet the governor of Puerto Rico, and he bowed, and he took my hand and kind of like kissed it, and in respect to what I was going through, because everyone knew.
Oh, they knew.
They knew. It was
I see,
public in
I
Puerto
see.
Rico.
I see.
My husband saw that. That was my boyfriend at the time, I always say. And he said, oh my God, that's a Cinderella moment.
Oh, how great.
And he started calling me Cinderella.
So that went into the book, because I was going to say the title is Cinderella, explain it. But that's
my
the
husband
background.
came up with that title, and then we sat, and during all my treatment, I used to do jeweled sneakers and really beautiful, sparkly sneakers.
And she wears them.
She wears them in the
She wears
story.
them. And who did you get to do the illustrations?
Scott Sackett worked for Warner Brothers, and he is an animator, and now he's illustrating other books, but he is a fabulous and a very talented artist, and we got him to do it because originally we were going to do a animated film, and so he was going to do all the animation.
Oh, really? Well, you can still do that, can't you?
Oh, that's one of our goals is to do that.
You still do that.
We started with the book because we self-published ourselves, and we've done everything ourselves.
Was that hard to do? Well, no, you had all these talented people around you.
I
so.
did, but it's hard to publish a book and to get the right colors, get everything exactly as it is.
Did you start testing your story before you actually wrote the book? Did you how did you write it? Did you think this page should say this and then try it out, or read it to each other? Or?
Well, first of all, we created it, both of us, and I said it has to have a happy ending. She has to survive. She has to use creativity. So basically, there's a lot of parallelism between Chimarella's story and my Cinderella Chimarella stories.
Is it mostly about you? Is it totally biographical?
No, it's not. It's a universal story. It's a Cinderella story, so it follows the fairy tale of Cinderella, but there's no magic. The magic is created by Chimarella. She's like a hero that does everything on her own, and she's creative and survives and accepts the love around her and makes the right choices to survive and overcome it.
What audience did you think you were going to get?
We're not sure if this was going to be an adult audience or children, but we wrote it for adults. It has a sense of humor. It has a little bit of sarcasm. It has, it's happy, and adults get the sense of humor. But we started realizing as we were trying the book out with different audiences that children were mesmerized by the illustrations and really love her and really feel that they're the leading, the protagonists of a story. And
so would this be for the child?
Yes.
I'm a fan of Chimarella, or would it be for the mother who's reading the book?
It's for the child and for the mother. Hair or Life is one of the main messages. Pelo o vida. And when women have, or even children feel, they're losing their hair.
They're both right.
If a child is going to lose his hair and he knows or she knows that she's choosing life over hair, it becomes much more powerful and easier to deal with.
And that's what happens in the book.
Yeah.
That's part of the idea of what you're saying. You've gotten awards. Well, the book came out. We're going to get an animated thing. You're talking about it everywhere. And now you're getting all these awards. You just came from France.
Yes.
And you got
the Rire d'Or, the golden
Rire,
laughter.
Rire, smile, right?
Rire, yeah.
And what is that?
This was, excuse me?
What is the award?
Oh, the award is the Golden Laughter Award, and it was given to me for my work with humor and cancer and impacting communities with Chimarella. So.
And they already knew about it in France?
Yes, because they were exposed to Chimarella when I trained with the founder of the School of Laughter.
Oh, is this it?
Yeah, this is Corinne Cosaron, and she's the founder of the School of Laughter. They gave me the award.
I see.
And
she looks like...
She's very
she
fun.
Looks like you have to laugh.
You have to laugh when you see her. And she trained me as a regologist, which is a form of laughter therapy where you let the child inside of you come out and you're able to play games and laugh and use laughter to benefit the benefits of health with laughter.
So it's curative. Laughter is curative.
Laughter cures pain, sadness. It takes away stress. Momentarily, it will make you happy. It brings oxygen to your brain. It fortifies your immune system, and it makes you feel more positive. You become more creative, and it's just amazing. It's a great tool to overcome adversity.
Well, what more can I say? Except that just give us a quickie on this one.
I was giving a conference in France with humor and cancer, and I was going to do it in English, and there was going to be an interpreter, and all of a sudden there was no interpreter, and I did the whole thing in French.
You did?
Yes, je parle un peu de français. I sound like Julia Child, like, bonjour, je suis Katy Franco. But they loved it, they laughed, they cried, and they were very inspired, and
what more can we say? Katy Franco, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here with you.
And don't go, yes, you can go away, but be sure you watch next time and write to JAQUINN1@AOL.com.